Welcome to Voodu Warlock 2023, Episode 8. In this episode, I am level 8. Do you see a theme? So, since the last episode, I did the rest of Feywild. And I also did Garl's Tomb Part 1 out in Threerball Cove, and I think that was just about it. There's lots of other favor I could pick up. I'm well into 9 right now, so I'm probably not going to do anything more right now, and just, when I get higher in level, maybe do some of the quests that give some of the favor that I want, like on Epic, like kind of a big deal, memory lapse. Like I could do those on Epic. Even though they're my level now, I can do the Epic versions, or 21, 22, and so on. So maybe I'll just do them then, or once I get to cap, I might just do some favor cleanup. We'll see. Devil Assault's also one that I'm gonna want to get full favor for. I'll do that in Epic. It's only 6 on normal. It's kind of a weird one. And today we're going to try to solo the Chronoscope raid on R1. I don't know if I've ever done that before. I don't know if I can. It'll be interesting. I know I soloed on an Elite at level 8 on Ginger Spice, but we'll see if I can do it on Voodoo. I really don't know how this is going to go, but we'll find out shortly. Over here in Feywild, or in the Winwood Hall, because I had some favor to turn in. Hey, I get 5 more hit points out of that. Hell yeah. Open up the Feydark Illusionist tree, which I already have, but if you don't own Feydark Illusionist, you can get it through favor. Doing Feywild stuff. Let's see. What about gear? There's only one change, and that is the armor. Is a crafted level 8 armor. This is a Mithril Skirmish Scale Mail. Scale Mail is normally medium armor, but because it's Mithril, it is light. Got a couple slots. I only have one thing slotted on there, and that is the heavy fortification. Very important fortification, as I mentioned earlier, is a layer of defense that especially new folks can overlook. And in my opinion, you should have at least 100% fortification by level 8, which you can do with that sapphire there, and you can get that from a few different collectibles traders. I showed you how to look that up in an earlier episode for 12 shards. If you can't find one on the auction house or something. And I think this has the same stats on it as my earlier armor: lesser arcane casting dexterity and invulnerability. Let's talk about arcane spell failure for a moment and how you can tell if you have that. So if I take my armor off, then I will have 5% arcane spell failure from my shield. Okay? But when I have the armor on, it mitigates 5% spell failure through lesser arcane casting dexterity. So that means with the armor off, I have 5% arcane spell failure. How do you tell that? You're going to hover over one of your spells, and it's going to be in red letters. You can see down there, it says arcane spell failure 5%. But make sure you're hovering over a spell that has like a somatic component. That means like using your hands and stuff, using your body, getting into the spell, as opposed to just a verbal component. If a spell only has a verbal component, like Dimension Door only has a verbal component, you can see it says component verbal. So you wouldn't experience any arcane spell failure from throwing a D-Door, but you would throwing the jump spell because that has a somatic component. Okay, unfortunately you cannot hover over your blast, but they do experience spell failure, and you'll be able to see it in your dice rolls. So watch when I try to cast jump. See how there's a dice roll down here? It says arcane spell success, and it's rolling a D100, or that's 2D10. So if I'm not sure if it's low or high, but in any event, you can see if you're rolling for arcane spell failure, you see those dice rolls too. So you can hover over a spell that would have arcane spell failure, or you can look for the dice rolls to see if you have those. And like I said, if you don't have a way to mitigate it at this level, you don't need to use that shield. I like to use it for some extra defenses. You don't have to. You can use 2 caster 6. That's just fine. There are a lot of ways to mitigate arcane spell failure, but at this low level, there's not a lot. So generally speaking, it's through augments for 5, 10, and 15%, I think. Off the top of my head, I think that's what it is. And then you can also mitigate a lot of arcane spell failure through filigrees. And there is some gear, not a lot, but there's some gear out there that mitigates arcane spell failure as well. Nothing new to show you for Reaper points. And on the enhancement side, I did pick up Cone Shape. So we're going to be Cone Shaping from this point forward. Okay, I also picked up Consume and Stricken, and up to Tier 3 Core. I still have Staunch for the emergency heal. And that reminds me, I did die once since last episode. My first death of this life. And it was in R1 Thornright. Really short quest out in Feywild. But I mentioned in an earlier episode that at low levels, the fire elementals, if you get certain champions, they can be especially deadly. And that's what happened. I had I think it was a demon soul maybe, the kind that does acid dots, and then it had the fire aura as well. So by the time I realized I had a bunch of dots on me, it was just too late. I even staunched up. I got a scroll and a wand heal off, but it just wasn't enough. It had stacked up so much. So I have died once this life. What does that mean? It means everybody dies, and everybody dies in Reaper mode. So, you know, all these past lives and Reaper points, they don't make me invincible. All right. I guess that's all there is to show here. I did pick up Freedom of Movement here. I can't remember if I had that last episode. I think I did. But that's really nice. I can give that up at level 10 when I use my Freedom of Movement boots. I don't know whether or not ultimately at endgame I'm going to take that, because I do have Freedom of Movement boots, but having that in the enhancement tree is really nice. A really nice option so that I'm not locked into a certain pair of boots. So we'll see. If I wear the boots, it'll free up 2 action points. Or if I use 2 action points, it'll free up the boots. Whatever works. 220, 221, whatever it takes. All right, a couple other pieces of gear I wanted to mention. Now, as of the making of this video, Isle of Dread's been out for like 2 weeks. I have not even done it on Heroic. So, and that will be next level, because it's base level 7. That means I want to do them at level 9 on R1. So I'm looking forward to giving those a try. But there's a couple augments that I know that I would love to have. A few of them, actually. Well, a couple of them that I'd like to have, and one of them is Demonic Shield. It's called a Demon Heart Emerald, and that gives Demonic Shield 30 when you get hit. There's a % chance that you get 30 temporary hit points. That would be pretty cool. I'm not, you know, it's not a big deal. I don't have it in Heroic, but by endgame, I definitely want that as part of my gear set. I'm going to try my best to work that in to the endgame gear set, and I already have the legendary improved Demonic Shield augment, or the legendary Demonic Emerald, or Demon Heart Emerald. I already have that ready to go. The other item I'd like to have at this level range is an Undying Sapphire, which is, these are both level 8 augments, and the Undying Sapphire increases your unconscious range, the Heroic 165, and the legendary one by 225. That's very significant unconscious range extension, and I think I already have one of those ready to go at legendary. And then, you know, I don't need it for this guy, but if you are struggling with your use magic device skill, you could use a Brightbane Emerald, which gives command 4. And so there's a 4 competence bonus to all your charisma-based skills. And the legendary version is command 7. So something to look for from Heroic. And legendary Isle of Dread. All right. Let's get on to the Chronoscope. I'm enthusiastic. I could get my butt kicked. I really don't know. You know, I don't have the survivability on this tune that I would if I were in Enlightened Spirit. But I don't do Enlightened Spirit, you know, at this level. The earliest I would do Enlightened Spirit is 9. And maybe next level I'll show you exactly that point and why. Because, you know, you might be playing in a group where, you know what, you really want to have a tank, you know, at level 9. You know, I'm going to wait to do Enlightened Spirit to level 12, but you might really want to be a tank before that. And so I'm going to show you why level 9 is kind of a sweet spot, at least for me. But we'll wait for next episode. So this is a raid, and I love to raid, and I love to teach people how to raid. I love to encourage people to raid. There's a lot of people in this game who don't raid. Most people who play this game don't raid. And I've been doing teaching raids on Sarlona for, you know, going on a decade. Public events that we do through the winter and spring, where we take people who are new to raids and teach them how to raid. And so if you're on Sarlona, you're going to want to look in the Sarlona forum. I post details every week for that week's event. Like I said, those are just through the winter and spring. So the 2022 season actually just ended a few weeks ago. Hope to bring that back after the new year in 2023. But, you know, a lot of people don't raid, and I think a lot of people make out raiding to be something bigger than it is. A lot of people, you know, get themselves, like a refrigerator box or something, and they take a big fat black magic marker and they write "not a raider" on it, and then they put themselves in that box that they labeled not a raider. Like, you hear people saying this all the time. They say, "I'm not a raider," as if raiding was something different, like it was a different game or it took a different level of, you know, something. And I understand that in other MMOs, raiding can be big, elaborate productions that take many hours in big teams and 50 people. That's not DDO, okay? In DDO, raids are just 12-person quests. That's all they are. A lot of times you're going to want specialized roles. A tank is typically desirable for a raid. You know, a healer, a dedicated healer is definitely good to have. Maybe, you know, crowd control, stuff like that. But you know what? That stuff's great in regular questing too. I prefer to quest with a tank. You know, when I'm doing high skull legendaries, I do not like the disorganization of playing without a tank. But that's just a personal preference. You know, you do you. You're paying to play the game the way you want to play it. That's one of Nimbin's favorite sayings, and I love it. You know, you're here to play the game the way you want to, not the way somebody else wants to. Okay? And, you know, if you're just like, hey, F you, Voodoo, I don't want to raid, that's fine. If you don't want to raid, you don't have to. Why can I not click on the portal? There we go. And that's fine if you don't want to raid. There's nothing wrong with not raiding. But here's the thing. I just don't want you sitting there thinking to yourself, oh, I can never have a Sword of Shadows, or I could never have a Quiver of Alacrity, or I could never have, you know, this thing because I'm not a raider. I could never get Threads of Fate because I'm not a raider. That's a box you're putting yourself in. You know, most raids in this game can be done in under half an hour, no problem. If you tell this guy, can you give me any aid? He gives you some nice buffs. He doesn't give those in the epic version of this, but he does in heroic. So, you know, take those buffs. At this low level, those buffs are nice. I mean, aid, bless, and Owl's wisdom, and bull strength, and yeah, I'll take that stuff, no problem. And this is the raid that this Gem of Many Facets comes from, by the way. And if you've been away from the game for a while, the Chronoscope loot was redone. I don't know, 6 months ago maybe, and it's really nice again. You know, years ago when this raid came out, Chronoscope loot was all the rage. You know, people couldn't wait to get their Might of the Abishai sets going on at level 5, right? Well, it's really nice again. You have a lot of great gearing options at 5, though, that include not only Chronoscope gear, but Feywild gear as well, which I'm a big fan of Feywild. So, you know, if you want to get a piece of gear, let's say it's from a raid, all you gotta do is learn how to do the raid. And guess what? Your Uncle Voodoo's got teaching raid videos for every raid in the game on my YouTube channel. Hell yeah. All you gotta do is watch that video. And I'm gonna let you in on a dirty little secret. There are so many people who join Pug raids who don't know how the raid works. All they know is what they need to know to get to the end, or the minimum to get by. But in my teaching raid videos, we teach you how the whole raid works from start to finish, and where applicable, we're going to show you like what not to do and what to do when things go wrong, because that's a really important part of knowing how to, be successful in this game, whether it's raiding or questing. It's, when a raid goes right and everybody does what they're supposed to do and everything, everything goes like clockwork, a lot of them can seem effortless practically. But knowing what not to do and knowing what to do when things go wrong, that's important too. And we teach that stuff in our teaching raids. And you're going to learn that stuff in our teaching raid videos. And you don't have to learn all the raids at once. Like I said, if there's just, you identify a piece of gear that you want. And, watch a teaching raid video. And you're going to know more than probably 80% of the pugs that join the next pug raid that you join. Okay, you watch our teaching raid videos, and you're going to have a solid understanding of how that raid works, what you're supposed to be doing, where you're supposed to go, what not to do. Don't overwhelm yourself and think that if you want to become a raider, you got to learn all the raids. Just, pick and choose the ones that you want to learn, because that's, got the gear that you want or something. All right, let's take a moment to heal ourselves. Jeez, oh Pete. It's like these monsters are trying to kill me or something. Anyway, so raids, like most raids in this game, can be done under half an hour. A lot of them can be done in under 15 minutes, and not a single raid in this game, at least as of right now, and I'll just put a little asterisk to that statement and say, the Isle of Dread raid has not been released yet. It's supposed to come out later this month, I believe, so that one's supposed to be a little bit longer. We'll see. In any event, even the longest raids in this game, unless you're raid pushing, or, difficulty pushing, there's no reason that anything should take more than 45 minutes. I don't know why I was sitting there fighting that stuff, because I am not going to sit here and do the optionals when I'm soloing. It's going to take forever. So what I need to do is just run to the Phoenix Tavern. Have a little conversation with, Mr. Yeah, Professor Tremus. So he's like, yeah, you want Nelgan back? Go get me a safety deposit box key. I better rebuff. Now I want to show you something else. Let's talk about Illyri Thistledown. The best investments you can make in your blue bar's future. Where is Illyri? Is she still in the folder? Thought I had her. There she is right there. So Illyri. Oh, I can't bring her out in raids, damn it. Anyways, she's a cleric, level 3. She's a permanent hireling, and she comes with, well, what used to be called the starter pack years ago, and then they rebundled it and called it the starter bundle. But they've taken that off the market, because since last year, a whole bunch of races and classes went free to play, so they have to redesign the bundle, because the starter pack included stuff that's now free. So hopefully that will get redone soon, and Illyri will become available. What's great about Illyri is she has the Divine Vitality ability, okay? And you can bring her out, and you can use all of her Divine Vitalities to give yourself mana back. Divine Vitality is the ability that clerics have to use up their turn undead charges to give somebody else mana. So you use all of Illyri's Divine Vitality charges, and you get about 175, 200 spell points, depending. There's a little bit of randomness to it. And if there's a shrine nearby, you can have her shrine and then immediately get all those things again, all those Divine Vitalities again. Or if there's no shrine nearby, you can dismiss her, and then 5 minutes later, you can summon her again and get all of her Divine Vitalities again. I'm just killing this stuff, so, you know, it doesn't harass me when I come out of the bank. And if you're a soloer, guess what? Lots of raids can be soloed too, like this one. I mean, this is only level 6 on Heroic Normal, right? It's, you know, we're on R1, so it's level 8. But, you know, if you just wanted to, you know, get, you know, a gem of many facets to craft on, you know, there's so many people that would just tell themselves right away that they can't have a gem of many facets because they're not a raider. Okay, I want you to know you can come in here. You know, you could bring your level 30 character in here if you want to, on Heroic Normal or Heroic Elite or whatever, and just do a walkthrough of the raid and get the loot, get whatever loot you want. No big whoop. But heck, you can even solo this on Epic if you wanted to. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna have enough DPS to even beat this guy down. But we're gonna find out. Hitting him with Staunch. And, I mean, Consume and Stricken. As they come off cooldown. Now we're only gonna beat him down so much, and then he's gonna take a little smoke break. We'll heal ourselves up then. It looks like the defenses are holding well enough. I'm a little bit worried about how the defenses are going to hold up in the end fight. But there's my stats right now: 98 PRR, 61 MRR, 75 AC. Those are really good stats for a light armor wearing toon. But you know, that's really bolstered by past lives, and they have a disproportionate effect in low level. You know, with Martial Epic Past Lives, for example, they give extra armor class, and those Epic Past Lives go into effect right away. You know, when you reincarnate at level 1, and all those extra all that extra armor class from your Martial Past Lives can take a toon that would otherwise have you know, a garbage armor class and turn it into a meaningful armor class. Now, by end game, the effect of all those past lives does level off quite a bit. But they're definitely still yummy. I should probably be using Focused Blast on him because that is higher DPS. If it's just me and him. Well, it's slow going, but it is going. Trying to put off the heals as long as I can. You know, heal myself while he's up there. And fully healed when the next group comes out. Oh yeah. So hirelings can't be used in raids, as I demonstrated a few minutes ago. And res cakes also cannot be used in raids. But your Curse Blade of Jack Jibbers can. The only item in the game, I talked about it before in the first episode, only item in the game that allows you to self-raise in a raid comes from Epic Two-Toed Tobias. Definitely want to make it part of your epic leveling routine. Remember, a Jibbers a day keeps the ransack away. And maybe the doctor too, I don't know. Alright, let's switch to Focus Blast. Because, let's switch to Focus Blast. There we go, because that's higher DPS. Some hits on me. Switch back to cone shape. I still have chain shape because, as I mentioned before, chain shape is great for situational use. Now, we need to talk about cone shape. Cone shape, when you're new, it looks really lame if you don't know any better, okay? And it took the community the better part of a year to catch on to the fact that cone shape is freaking awesome. You know, everybody, when Warlocks first came out, everybody was in love with chain shape because it's so sexy. Okay, you know, it's bouncing all around. It's so cool looking. So it's time to rebuff. And chain shape is so freaking lame look. I mean, cone shape is so lame looking, you know. Just looks like some stupid little burning hands thing out in front of you, you know. If you're like a fiend pack, it looks like you're just spraying Campbell's tomato soup at your mobs, you know. It looks terrible. And when you're running, look at this. You're like practically outrunning it. Like when you run fast, you're like literally outrunning the graphic. It just looks so dumb. Okay, but here's the thing. That's what's deceptive about it, okay? Chain actually hits a much bigger area than the little graphic suggests. And you can hit so many more mobs with cone shape than you can with chain shape. So, you know, I mentioned earlier that I do prefer chain shape for really low level questing, but definitely cone shape is the superior blast shape stance. Now, I do recommend having both. You know, if you are a blaster, I won't have both by endgame because I'm going to be a burster, but I'll still have chain shape for situational use. Because there's going to be, you know, times that you want to hit mobs that don't want to kite together or something like that. Or mobs up on a ledge or something. Also, I can't remember if I mentioned this earlier in an earlier episode, but the focused blast was given a longer range. So you can hit mobs from quite a bit further away, like 40% longer of a range. You can hit mobs from quite a bit further away than you used to be able to with focused blast. That's the single target shot. Unfortunately, they didn't make that change to like, ooh, damn, to cone shape or chain shape. All right, time to get serious about some healing here. So you can use Focus Blast if you want to hit mobs that are a little bit further away. I should have used like Scrolls of Displacement or something. I have no idea if you could see through that though. Some of your bosses, I think maybe even all bosses have true seeing. I don't even know. Remember, I always have Staunch as an emergency heal, but, you know, he's not hitting me that big, so. I've got 100% fort. He's not going to crit me all of a sudden. As you beat him down, he starts to lose his armor. He's practically naked now. You know, if you don't have the past lives, you don't have the Reaper points, trying to solo this on R1 at level 8 is going to be really, really tough. Okay? So, you know, solo it on whatever difficulty you can. You know, try it on normal if you want to. It'll be a fun challenge. I mean, soloing this raid, if you're new, is going to be tough. I mean, it's a raid. You know, this is supposed to have 12 people in here. Not one. But I've run this raid countless times. I've soloed it many times. I just don't know if I've ever soloed it on Voodu. And I don't remember if I soloed it, like I said, on R1 at level 8. I've done a lot of spur of the moment things on my live stream, and you know, that all gets lost unless I highlight it. Just die already. There we go. Okay, so now we go here. We get the safety deposit box key from that guy. We get our loot. I'm going to go ahead and rest because I want to get my charges of my memento charges back. That's the Reaper boost to spell power. You know, when I'm beating down these bosses, I don't have a lot of DPS, so I need every little bit that I can. Those aid buffs that the NPC gave me at the start. We persist through resting. I never noticed that before. So there's a bunch of optionals. There's just, you know, killing mobs and finding downed Stormreach citizens or whatever. But I'm not going to bother with that. It's just XP. But if you're doing this on Epic and you're doing it with a group and people need Epic XP, it definitely can be worthwhile doing those optionals because you can have a couple people running around killing stuff while other people are doing, you know, the boss fights. It's John Lennon. All right, talk to Nell. Take some loot. And now we're going to go into the steam tunnels where that's the next boss fight. And if you want to, you know, you can run through the streets, or if you want to avoid aggroing more mobs, then you can just detour and go this way. Steam tunnels, they're actually blocked off. You got to talk to Vahir, Nord. To advance it. And might as well have him refresh my buffs while I'm here. Displacement would help me a lot with the trash mobs. I mentioned I took Detour before displacement, but it certainly would be nice to have it in here. Probably should have picked up some scrolls of it, but oh well. Almost frozen from my crown of snow. Stuck or something. I seriously can't move. Since I can't move, let's get myself healed up. I don't know what's going on here. There I go. Sometimes you get stuck in place. I don't know if that's what happened there, but sometimes if you find you can't move, there is a bug that's been around for years that has to do with like shield blocking. Just like tumble out of it. You know, if you're stuck and can't move, don't do a restart first. Try tumbling out of it first. Or another way that bug manifests itself is you can't click on stuff. You try to click on a door to open it or a lever to pull it. You can't click on anything. Same thing. Just shield block out, or tumble out of it. And that should work. Those bugs have been around for years. Careful about jumping down. There's other trash that you can aggro. You don't want to get overwhelmed. Multiple people obviously going to make this go a lot faster. And I want to make sure that I'm hitting him with my blast too. With cone, I'm hitting everything in the cone. One of the awkward things about cone is that you really want to have nothing targeted or yourself targeted. If you go around targeting mobs with it, what happens is your cone will stop firing when they're not in the, they're off to the side or something like that. Let me see if I can demonstrate that. Like if I turn off to the side. Oh, now it is firing. That's weird. Yeah, it says here you're not facing Shavroth the Archer, and you're like, what the hell? Why am I not shooting my cone? You're not facing your target. So, there's no reason to really target anything with cone shape. Okay, just have nothing targeted or target yourself. Oh, look who ran out of heal scrolls. Oh my god. That's terrible. Really, really terrible. I mean, I got wands, but the nice thing about having wands and scrolls is you can alternate them. They're on different cooldowns. So if I want to, heal a little bit faster, I can throw them both, which I was. Wands are going to have to do. And if you have something targeted, you want to have, just target yourself or hit escape. We'll target, that'll target nothing. But if you have auto targeting on, then, we are auto targeting stuff. the boss of this raid, the final boss, has some really nasty attacks, so I am a little bit worried that, you know, he's gonna get me with his, like, black dragon tentacles or the ice shards or something. Find out here in a few minutes. Well, that's part 2. I'm not going to shrine because I didn't use up any of my memento charges, and I want to have my depravity counters up. Because if I need to staunch, well, I'm going to want those counters built up. Staunch uses depravity counters. I got enough time to heal myself up. Yeah, we got some collectibles around the way. There were some collectibles around the marketplace too, but like I said, I didn't want to bother doing the optional, so I didn't want to run around the market and aggro a bunch of mobs. I did not buff myself. All right, now the 5 Abishais will combine their forces and make Voltron. Oh, I guess this guy was lurking. Do focused blast since that's a little bit higher DPS. And now, for the thrilling conclusion. So this was the old market tent inside here. This used to be a tent in the market itself. Years ago, it was blown up as part of a live event. There was a double invasion that happened on the live servers. And this raid, the Chronoscope, is like going back in time and revisiting that moment. That was before I started playing, but there is video on YouTube of that event. But they did away with the whole market tent, and they put the vendors in an outdoor pavilion instead. All right, this guy's going to be tough. He's got some really nasty attacks, and I am a little bit worried. He transforms into various colored dragons, and some of those attacks are pretty intense. large raid bosses have the ability to overrun you like that, knock you down if you move into their space, or they move into your space. So, you know, some of them you can prevent that from happening by just making sure you don't move into them, let them come to you. But if you're moving into them and you move too close, they can knock you down. I'll see, demonstrate that just by walking into them. You don't have to get up to them too closely. A lot of people make that mistake when they're new to the Demon Queen raid, is that they get too close to her and then they get overrun. I don't want to stand in her, or in his acid rain there. He's got like a tentacle thing that he does. Curse. It's a pretty intense attack. Using a curse pot to get rid of the curse. Well, so far so good. He is going to summon some trash at some point. At least he does in the epic version. I don't do the heroic version too often, so I don't know if maybe he doesn't do trash in heroic. Ooh, crap. I staunched up there. Did you see how hard that hit? That was close. I've got a lot of temporary hit points right now, so I want to heal myself. Because once those wear off, I don't want to be like super low on hit points. And if I had, oh, I don't know, some scrolls of cure critical wounds like I had when I started this, I could heal myself a little bit faster. Well, since it's just me and him right now, I'm going to go ahead and do Focus Blast. If he summons devils, then I'll switch back to Cone. And we have freedom of movement through our enhancement tree, so no problem with the grease. If you didn't have that in your enhancement tree, then, you know, maybe your eternal flask of freedom of movement. Not a lot of sources of freedom of movement at this level. There are no items. I don't think there are any items below level 9. The Kundrak Delving Boots being the lowest level. And I'll be using the boots, the level 10 boots out of Death House, the Flightfoot Greaves that have freedom of movement on them. Level 10. That's funny. Maybe he doesn't summon trash on heroic. I usually do this on epic. Sometimes there are subtle differences between epic and heroic versions of the raids. I think I'll get out of the way of his fire breath. Oh, we got him halfway down. That's pretty cool. Now, this is the first time I've used Staunch, I think, during the series. You can see you have a buff right there that says Staunch. Your maximum hit points have been reduced. And every time you use it, it'll give you a number there. What is this? I am helpless. Rack. I don't even know what that was. But if I use it again, it'll have like a number 2 there. And if I use it again, it'll 3, and so on. Okay, I don't want to get too cocky, kids, so as soon as my spell power buffs wear off, I'm going to start healing myself. But right now, since I got both my spell power buffs going, I really want to use them the best that I, use them up. And leverage that extra spell power. Okay, they're both gone. Now I'm just going to wand whip myself for a bit. Now remember, we got the Brine Shaman staff that has the Gust of Wind clicky, and we can use that to blow out persistent AoEs like this Acid Fog if we want to. See that? Pretty cool, huh? My final memento charge, buff my spell power. And I'm going to hit my Tainted Spellcasting 2. That's my spell power buff out of the Tainted Scholar tree. That uses up to 10 depravity counters, but I still have 20 depravity, so that's okay. As long as I have enough to staunch a time or two, I'm good. That's one thing that I want to make sure. I'm going to do red fire shield here because I know he's got some really nasty cold things. Those ice crystals can really hurt. I don't want to take chances. So in the epic version of this fight, he does summon waves of bearded devils. Those are the green guys. Go ahead and hit Tainted Spellcasting. All right, and now you can sit and watch the show. It's a lot of fun to watch if you've never seen the ending before. You get to watch, Sulamati's the Horned Devil, and you can turn your DM audio on because it's funny to, to watch the epic fail that is Professor Tremus try to steal youth from one who is immortal. Idiotic tiefling. Anyways, you wait here if you don't have D-Door. There'll be a portal that comes up here to take you back, or you can just D-Door if you got it. And that is Chronoscope, my friends. And if you didn't know how to do it, well, now you do. If you've never done it, don't go trying to solo it on R1 at level 8. Just try it on normal. Try it over level. The important part here is that I want you to know that you can do this. If you want to get your Gem of Many Facets because you want to craft on it, I don't want you sitting there think, oh, I can never have that because I'm not a raider. It's no big whoop. Okay, and like I said, you could bring a level 32 tune in here on Heroic Normal and just go through all the motions of I just did. I mean, you would knock this out in 5 minutes, because you'd be so overpowered compared to the level of the raid. All right, then you talk to Vahir. And then you watch the tent blow up. And I'll show you a fun little Easter egg, too. Check this out. In the back, there is Vela. Yeah, Vela, the big red dragon from Von 6. That's her in elven form. She also appears in the back of the Bogwater Tavern as an unnamed bar patron. She's discussing the plot of the Vault of Night with that other dwarf bar patron. So if you do those optionals, you'll get some additional chests. I didn't do the optionals, so I just have one chest. There's up to 4 chests on Epic. I don't know what the maximum number of chests on Heroic is. 2 or 3. Boom. There goes the market test. And that happened on the live servers. In the public spaces. I don't know what year that was, like 2008 or 2009 or something. See, I got some Scorched Bracers. So this is the updated version of Scorched Bracers, and all of the loot for Chronoscope was redone about 6 months ago. All right. If you have any questions, you can make a comment in this video. You can post a response to my build post in the Warlock forums, or you can visit the Twitch live stream and ask questions and get answers in real time. We'll see you soon.